उपयोगः अस्ति इति उत नास्ति इति वा श्रोतॄणां मनसि दृढं निहितं भवेत्। इदानीं राजव्यवस्था अथवा साम्प्रतिक विधि व्यवस्था या अस्ति तत्र भारतीय धर्मशास्त्रस्य कियान् प्रभावः इति विचारः चलति। आदौ तु अयं विषयः अत्यन्तं स्पष्टः वर्तते। साम्प्रतिकी या व्यवस्था राजव्यवस्था भवतु विधि व्यवस्था भवतु एषा व्यवस्था भारतीय धर्मशास्त्रानुकूला नास्ति। भारतीय धर्मशास्त्रे यादृशी व्यवस्था अथवा यः मुख्यः भावः भारतीय धर्मशास्त्रस्य केन्द्रीभूतः तस्य भावस्य अनुकूला व्यवस्था सम्प्रति नास्ति इति अस्माभिः स्वीकर्तुं शक्यते। तत्र विवादः स्यात्। पण्डिताः विवदन्तां नाम मम एतत् प्रतिपादनमस्ति। इदं पूर्वपक्षत्वेन वा अङ्गीक्रियताम्। किमर्थम् एतादृशी प्रतिज्ञा मया क्रियते, कुतः एतत् उपस्थाप्यते इत्युक्ते अस्माकं धर्मशास्त्रस्य या व्यवस्था आसीत् यः भावः आसीत् तस्याः सर्वासामपि तासां व्यवस्थानां धर्मशास्त्रप्रतिपादितानां मुख्यः भावः मूलगतः भावः आसीत् धर्मः। अस्माकं सम्प्रति मुख्य समस्या इयमस्ति यत् समाजे धर्मस्य बोधः एव नष्टः वर्तते। यदा धर्म इति शब्दस्य उच्चारणं क्रियते अत्र ये उपस्थिताः सन्ति तत्र मां विहाय सर्वेपि विद्वांसः सन्ति। अतः अस्मिन् सदसि विदुषां पुरतः धर्म इति शब्दस्य उच्चारणेन धर्मशब्देन यः अर्थः धर्मशास्त्रकाराणाम् अपेक्षितः आसीत् तस्य अर्थस्य बोधः भवतु नाम। किन्तु समाजे सामान्यजनेषु यदि धर्म इति शब्दस्य उच्चारणं क्रियते तत्र विपरीतार्थः बुध्यते। तत्र भिन्न भिन्न संप्रदाय उपासना संप्रदायानां नामानि एव धर्म शब्दस्य उच्चारणात् परमेव उपतिष्ठन्ते। तस्मात् एतद् मया उच्यते धर्म शब्देन अभिप्रेतः यः अर्थः
It's not audible.
It's not audible. Fine. Dr. Dash? I think he has lost the connection.
It's connected.
It's connected? What happened?
I think link has lost. It's connected, I think now.
Shall we proceed? Shall we proceed?
No. I just
wait for
try to fix it.
Okay.
একটু অপেক্ষা করি, উনি হয়তো চেষ্টা করছেন।
Yes.
দীপক সবাইকে বলে দাও যে ফিডব্যাক লিঙ্কটা জানি তুমিই দেবে, এবং হাফ অ্যান আওয়ার পরে, অনুষ্ঠান শেষ হয়ে যাওয়ার ঠিক আধ ঘন্টা পরে, এবং ওখান থেকে 1 ঘন্টা থাকবে লিঙ্কটা। ঠিক আছে?
ঠিক আছে, ঠিক আছে। আপনারা এই যে গুগল মিটের যে চ্যাট বক্সটি রয়েছে, এখানে নেম, ডেজিগনেশন, ইমেল আইডি এগুলি লেখার দরকার নেই। আমরা ফিডব্যাক লিঙ্কটি দিয়ে দেবো আমাদের যে টেলিগ্রাম গ্রুপটি রয়েছে সেই গ্রুপটিতে, অনুষ্ঠান শেষের আধ ঘন্টা পরে।
हरि ओम। संप्रति श्रूयते?
आम श्रूयते श्रूयते।
हाँ हाँ।
Yes, sir.
तस्य अर्थस्य बोधस्तु समाजे न वर्तते, तस्मिन् समाजे याः व्यवस्थाः चलन्ति, व्यवस्थाः सर्वाः समाजस्य रक्षणाय समाजेन एव निर्मिताः भवन्ति। समाजे यस्य विषयस्य यस्याः व्यवस्थायाः प्रयोजनं नास्ति, या व्यवस्था समाजस्य प्रतिकूला वर्तते, तस्याः व्यवस्थायाः तु समाजे स्थानं न स्यात्। तस्मादेव मया उक्तं यत् सम्प्रति याः व्यवस्थाः सन्ति तत्र धर्मशास्त्रस्य आनुकूल्यं न दृश्यते, यतः समाजे एव धर्मस्य बोधः नष्टः। तत्र समाजे धर्मः अस्ति वा न वा इति द्वितीयः विषयः। धर्मशास्त्रस्य मतानुसारं धर्मः सर्वेषाम् उपरि तिष्ठति। किमर्थं? धर्म एव सृष्टिं धरति, धारणात् धर्म इत्याहुः इति स्पष्टम् उक्तम्। समाजस्य रक्षणाय धर्मः व्यवस्थापितः। धर्मः केनचित् सृष्टः इति उच्यते वा? धर्मस्य कोऽपि स्रष्टा वर्तते वा? अथवा धर्मस्य कश्चन प्रतिपादयिता वर्तते वा, यः इदं प्राथम्येन अयं धर्मः इति निर्णय्य दत्तवान्? तथा तु नास्ति। धर्मः कः? धर्मः नाम इदानीं ये वयं प्राणिनः अस्मिन् सृष्टौ स्मः, अस्माकं सर्वेषामपि कश्चित् स्वभावः वर्तते। सर्वेषां प्राणिनां, न केवलं प्राणिनां, जडानामपि। कश्चन स्वभावः वर्तते। तस्य स्वभावस्य अस्यां सृष्टौ, अस्मिन् परिवेशे, अस्मिन् जगति कः प्रभावः? किं सः स्वभावः सृष्टेः अनुकूलः, समाजस्य अनुकूलः अथवा प्रतिकूलः इत्यस्य विचारः क्रियते। उदाहरणार्थं क्रोधः अस्माकं स्वभावः, सर्वेषामपि प्राणिनां स्वभावः भवति क्रोधः। इदानीं क्रोधस्य प्रकटनं सर्वेषां हिताय उत अहिताय इति विचारः क्रियते। विचार्यमाणे दृश्यते क्रोधस्य उग्रं प्रकटनं, क्रोधस्य आधिक्येन प्रकटनं न मम हिताय न वा समाजस्य हिताय। अतः तस्य क्रोधस्य संयमनम् अपेक्षितमस्ति। कामनाः अस्माकं स्वभावजाः, कामना अस्मासु वर्तन्ते। इदानीं कामनानां कियत्पर्यन्तं प्रशमनाय प्रयत्नः कर्तव्यः, कियत् परिमाणेन तस्य संयमनं कर्तव्यं। किं मम हृदये याः कामनाः उद्भवन्ति, सर्वासां कामनानां प्रशमनाय मया प्रयासः कर्तव्यः। तदर्थं यथेच्छाः उपायाः अङ्गीकर्तव्याः उत तत्र कश्चन संयमः अपेक्ष्यते। तर्हि वयं पश्यामः उदग्रकामनानां प्रकटनम् उदग्रकामनानां प्रशमनाय क्रियमाणाः प्रयासाः समाजस्यापि हिताय न भवति न भवन्ति, जनस्य अपि हिताय न भवन्ति। पुनश्च काश्चन भावनाः सन्ति अस्माकं स्वभावजाः, दया, प्रेम, कस्यचिदपि जनस्य दुःखं दृष्ट्वा अस्माकमपि मनसि दुःखम् उद्भवति, कारुण्यं, दयाभावः उद्भवति। अस्य भावस्य यदि पोषणं क्रियते, वर्धनं क्रियते, तर्हि समाजस्य हिताय स्यात्। एवं मनुजानां येषां भावानां स्वभावजानां भावानां संयमः समाजस्य परिवेशस्य सृष्टेः हिताय अपेक्षितं तेषां संयमनं, येषां भावानां वृद्धिः पोषणं समाजस्य हिताय अपेक्षितं तेषां वृद्धिः अयमेव धर्मः। एवं येषां स्वभावानां संयमनम् अपेक्षितं तेषां संयमनेन, येषां पोषणम् अपेक्षितं तेषां पोषणेन अभ्युदयः सम्भवति। न केवलम् अभ्युदयः अपि च मोक्षः अपि लभ्यते तपोभिः, शान्त्या, शमनेन, इंद्रिय संयमेन, मनस्संयमेन मोक्षः अपि अधिगच्छति। तस्मादेव अभ्युदय निःश्रेयस हेतुभूतो धर्मः इति उच्यते। एवं एतादृशः यः धर्मः वर्तते सः धर्मः सर्वेषां पालनीयः वर्तते। न पाल्यते चेदेव क्लेशः उद्भवति समाजस्य। किन्तु धर्मशब्दस्य अनर्थ कारणात्, धर्मशब्दस्य यः अर्थः अभिप्रेतः एतादृशः, तस्य अर्थस्य स्थाने अन्यः अर्थः सम्प्रति आगतः इति कारणेन यत्र कुत्रापि धर्मस्य चर्चा इति वयं वदामः तत्र तत्र संविधान विरोधः भवति इत्यपि प्रतिपादनमस्ति। यतः अस्माकं संविधानं संप्रदाय निरपेक्षत्वम् अंगीकरोति, सेक्युलरिज्म इति। किन्तु वस्तुतः यः धर्मः अस्माकम् अभिप्रेतः, धर्मशास्त्रे प्रतिपाद्यमानः, अस्माकं सर्वेषु शास्त्रेषु प्रतिपाद्यमानः, तस्य धर्मस्य च संप्रदाय निरपेक्षत्वस्य च विरोधः तु न दृश्यते। इदानीं किमर्थम् अयं प्रसङ्गः मया अत्र उत्थापितः इत्युक्ते, एतादृशस्य धर्मस्य स्वरूपम्, एतादृशस्य धर्मस्य रक्षणाय पोषणाय च उपायाः धर्मशास्त्रे दृढं वर्ण्यन्ते, भृशं वर्ण्यन्ते। किन्तु समस्या इयं वर्तते, अस्य शास्त्रस्य चर्चा एव सम्प्रति उपेक्षिता वर्तते, तस्य धर्मस्य अपि उपेक्षा समाजे जायमाना वर्तते। न केवलं समाजे अपि च संपूर्ण अध्ययनाध्यापन क्षेत्रे एव एकेडमिक्स इति यद् वयं वदामः तत्र सर्वत्रापि अयं धर्मः उपेक्षितः वर्तते। अत्र वयं वेबिनार् कृत्वा अस्यां दशायामपि धर्मशास्त्रं चर्चामहे खलु तर्हि भवता किमर्थम् एवम् आक्षिप्यते इति नाशङ्कनीयम्। तत्र भगवान् भाष्यकारः महाभाष्ये पतञ्जलिः वदति अभ्यन्तरोऽहं लोके नाहं लोकः। वयमत्र 500 जनाः अस्मिन् विषये चर्चारताः स्मः। कियत्सु इत्युक्ते समग्र जगति प्रायः 600 कोटि परिमिताः जनाः स्युः तथा अधिकाः वा स्युः। एतेषु वयं 500 जनाः अस्य चर्चां कुर्मः। किं तेन? इयं चर्चा तु सर्वेषां मनस्सु भवेत् खलु। यः अध्यापकः अस्ति, यः अध्ययनं नापि करोति, सामान्यतया किमपि कार्यं कृत्वा जीवनं यापयति, धर्मः तस्यापि पालनीयः एव वर्तते। अधर्मेण तु सः स्वस्य समाजस्य च हानिमेव करिष्यति ननु। तस्मादेवं मया उच्यते धर्मस्य चर्चा एव सम्प्रति विलुप्तप्राया वर्तते। तत्र अस्याः गोष्ठ्याः महत्त्वं यस्मिन् काले न्यूनातिन्यूनम् एकेडमिक्स् मध्ये अध्ययनाध्यापन क्षेत्रे धर्मस्य चर्चा सीमिता वर्तते। के धर्मशास्त्रं चर्चन्ते इत्युक्ते संस्कृतज्ञाः चर्चन्ते इति मया उक्तं, किन्तु एतदपि असत्यं। यतः संस्कृतज्ञेषु अपि केचन एव धर्मशास्त्रम् इति कोट् अण्कोट् विषयं स्वीकृत्य अधीयते, ते एव धर्मशास्त्रं चर्चन्ते। अन्यः यः वैयाकरणः अस्ति, यः साहित्यिकः अस्ति, यः वेदमधीते, सोऽपि धर्मशास्त्रं न चर्चते। किन्तु धर्मशास्त्रस्य चर्चा तु सर्वेषाम् अपेक्षिता आसीत्। यथा धर्मशास्त्रमेव अस्मान् बोधयति धृतिक्षमा दमोस्तेयं शौचम् इन्द्रिय निग्रहो धीर्विद्या सत्यम् अक्रोधो दशकं धर्मलक्षणं मनुस्मृतौ षष्ठाध्याये 92तमः श्लोकः इति मन्ये। तस्मात् अस्याः गोष्ठ्याः एतदेव महत्त्वमस्ति। अहं गोष्ठ्याः आयोजकान् तथा महाविद्यालयस्य अध्यक्ष महाभागान् मम हार्दम् अभिनन्दनं ज्ञापयामि। यद् अस्मिन् समये धर्मशास्त्रस्य चर्चा तत्रापि न केवलं धर्मशास्त्रमिति कोट् अण्कोट् धर्मशास्त्रमिति विषयम् अधिकृत्य पठितवन्तः तादृशा एव, अपि च अन्येषामपि तत्र संयोजनं कृतं। विधि विभागे लॉ डिपार्टमेंट ऑफ लॉ मध्ये अध्यापकाः अन्यत्र विषयस्य अध्यापकाः अपि अत्र योजिताः चर्चार्थं विषयप्रस्तावार्थं। तत्र प्रश्नोत्तरस्यापि व्यवस्था वर्तते इति कृत्वा तत्र मन्थनमपि स्यात्। एतेन न्यूनातिन्यूनम् अयं धर्मः धर्मशास्त्रञ्च अध्ययनाध्यापन क्षेत्रे चर्चनीयः विषयः इति भावस्तु मनसि जागर्ति। अस्य महान् प्रभावः कदाचित् अग्रे समाजे भविष्यति इति चिन्तयामः। श्रीमद्भगवद्गीतायां भगवान् स्वयम् उपदिशति स्वल्पमप्यस्य धर्मस्य त्रायते महतो भयात्। स्वल्पोऽपि धर्मः अस्माभिः आचर्यमाणः वर्तते अस्यां गोष्ठ्याम्। अतः अस्य विषयस्य चयनार्थमेव भवन्तः सर्वेपि अभिनन्दनीयाः। ये च वक्तारः तानपि अहं कृतज्ञता पुरस्सरं नमस्करोमि। अग्रे वक्तारः च विषयस्य गभीरतया प्रतिपादनं करिष्यन्ति। मम तु ज्ञानम् अल्पम्, अथापि प्रेमवशात् अध्यापकैः अहम् आहूतः। सर्वान् अभिनन्दामि, सर्वेभ्यः कृतज्ञतां निवेदयामि, विशेषतः विमलरक्षितमहाभागाय तथा अस्य महाविद्यालयस्य सर्वेभ्यः अध्यापकेभ्यः अध्यक्षमहाभागेभ्यश्च अहम् अभिनन्दनं विज्ञाप्य कृतज्ञतां समर्प्य इहैव विरमामि। नमस्कारः।
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir, for the keynote address. I would now like to welcome. Yes, sir. I would now like to welcome our honorable speaker, Dr. Anindo Bandyopadhyay, Assistant Professor and HOD of Department of Sanskrit, University of Kalyani, for his speech. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Welcome.
Hope I am
Sir.
audible, because the weather
Yes,
is
sir.
not very good today here. By the way, I'm going to present my paper, Law and Its Interpretation, a Clash Between Text and Its Discourse. Wait for a while for my presentation. Let me first express my deep gratitude to all the members of the organizing committee for providing me with an opportunity to present my paper this August gathering. By the way, can you see my presentation?
Yes, sir. It's visible. Yes, sir.
It's visible, huh? Okay.
Okay, sir.
Okay. Interpreting text to understand their real meaning has a long tradition both in East and West. It should be better to approach this topic with the Upanishadic narration, deal with the story of three sons of Lord Prajapati, that is, deities, demon, and human beings. The story runs like this: completing the period of celibacy and having acquired spiritual knowledge from their father, they requested the Lord to give them advice. In response, Prajapati uttered the syllable "da." The same word "da" has been interpreted by them in three different ways. The deities have interpreted the word "da" as to be restrained. The human beings have interpreted it as to give, and the demons have considered it as to be compassionate. The episode shows how the aforesaid three sons of Lord interpret one monosyllabic word "da" in three different ways. We will try to understand the importance of law of interpretation in the light of this narration. In a civilized society, laws are meant for the welfare of the society. They are the products of a society and the protectors as well. They maintain the status of the society and welcome the newer order in a changing social system. As a result, today's progressive law sometimes become draconian in its application to tomorrow's perspective. The law of interpretation plays a vital role here. However, such changes in legal arena undoubtedly accelerate the progress of the society. As a result, sometimes we notice an inclusive gap between the real or the literal meaning of the text and its interpretation. In this paper, I will try to argue why and how a legal text need to be changed by explaining the real meaning through a proper rules of interpretation. In ancient India, there were two primarily two types of laws, as we know: direct scriptural injunctions and customary laws. Here, by the term ancient India, a long span of time is taken, starting from the Vedic period up to the period of composition of the Smritis and Nibandhas. The texts composed within this period bear the testimony of the upheaval changes of social structures vis-a-vis the legal system. As in the present legal system, any change of law is possible by amendment or annulment of existing law by component legislature. In ancient India, there was no such scope of formulating laws except by the sanction of in scriptures. Lawmakers in different periods have applied their innovative ideas to interpret the law of Shruti, Smriti, and Sadachara to suit the old directives in a new situation. Interpretation of codified law resolve apparent contradictions of legal directives and clarify issues if there be any ambiguity of the original text. Interpretation of statutory law by courts is a common practice in present day legal system. But if the sole power of interpretation rests with the concerned authority dealing with any legal dispute, there is probably of anarchism in judicial decisions. So to defend judiciary from being chaotic, law of interpretation has been developed. The importance of interpretation is relevant in modern judiciary as it was there in ancient Dharmaśāstras law. Now it is a time to understand what actually Dharmaśāstra is and definitely what dharma is. All we know that dharma is a Sanskrit word which confronts all the attempts at an exact rendering in English or in any other language. None of the dictionaries could able to explicit its meaning in a single word. They, however, have invested various words to come closer to the accurate meaning of the term dharma. The dictionaries therefore embark various connotations of the word dharma, such as ordinance, usage, duty, right, justice, morality, virtue, religion, good works, function, or characteristics. In most of the cases, the meaning of the term dharma can be translated as righteousness. In fact, the term dharma in Hindu jurisprudence has passed through its several transitions of meaning, though primarily it signifies the duties and obligations of an individual as a member of the so-called Aryan community. Professor Olivelle argues the term dharma was probably a neologism invented by the poet of Rigvedic hymns. It has no cognates in other Indo-European languages. So all the existing texts on dharma therefore always begin with a discussion on the testimony or the sources of dharma. Although there are some differences in the text, by and large, they point out three primary sources of dharma, that is Veda or Shruti, the oral text, Smriti, the written text or tradition or the living memory of the Brahmanical community, and Achara, the customary law or normative customs. Gautama most explicitly points out that the source of dharma is Veda, as well as the tradition and practice of those who knows the Veda properly. Apastamba, Bodhayana, and Vashishta have more or less in the same manner acknowledged graciously these three sources of dharma. However, as a student of Dharmaśāstra, the variation between the theoretical approach and the practical application of Smriti direction impresses me to concentrate on this subject. Primarily, in this respect, I have noticed 4 basic features of the Dharmaśāstras. First one is from Dharmaśāstras to later Nibandhas, including the metrical Smritis, cover a long span of time, more than 2000 years. Theoretically, all the Smritis are equal in force and also will remain forever. No one bothers which of the text is earlier or which one is composed comparatively in a later period. The ancient Smritis are considered as a real source of dharma. In very ancient times, the number of Smritis was very small. Gautama mentions by name no Smritikaras except Manu, though he speaks Dharmaśāstras. Bodhayana names 7. Apastamba mentions 10. Manu himself speaks only of 6. And Yajnavalkya is probably the earliest writer who enumerated in one place 20 expounders of Dharma. Parashara gives a list of 20, including himself, like Yajnavalkya. If all the Smritis cited in the later Nibandhas, such as Nirnaya Sindhu, the Mayuks of Nilakantha, the Biramitradaya, be taken into account, the number of Smritis will be found to be about more than 100. Second is, actually different Dharmaśāstras were composed in different periods, though all the texts have equal force in the decision-making process. It was presumed that all Smriti writers were equal in status with the Vedic seers, and their texts were equally enforceable, with exception to Manu, whose supremacy was universally endorsed from Brihaspati's text. At least 9 commentaries were written in different times of Manu's text. It appears that those were composed with the intention of clarification not available in the original text and in the commentaries composed earlier. A new commentary was necessary to meet with the demand of the changing society. Comparatively later dated texts like Narada Smriti, Brihaspati Smriti, or Katyayana Smriti have contained something entirely new, ideas and directions unheard in the earlier texts like Manava Dharmaśāstra and Yajnavalkya Dharmaśāstra. The new texts have the equal authority on every religious and secular matter like the old one. And obviously, interpretation plays an important role to accommodate them. Along with the expansion of sources of Dharma, the interpretation of texts help to the growth of lawmaking process of Dharmaśāstra. And the third point is, these Smritis depict and enumerate the customs and usage of their own time. The Smritikaras make mention of their predecessors by name and afterwards give their own view in the matter when they differ from them. Sometimes we find the words like iti Manu, iti Vishnu. Some Smritikaras give the opinion of the ancient Smritikaras by the word like anne, apare acharya, like this. The striking example of this can be found in Yajnavalkya when he says, you can see the primary text here, when he says, yaduchyate dvijatinang shudrat daropasangraha naitat mama matang yasmat tatra ayam jayate swayam. This is an example. My topic is not that. This is for example only. In his critical edition of Yajnavalkya Smriti, Professor Oliver rightly translates it like this: with respect to what has been stated about twice-born men taking wives from the Shudras, I do not approve it, because that man is himself born in her. The reference here appears to allude to Manu. Manu mentioning the Shudra wife as allowable himself condemns such a union further on. This is one of the numerous topics on which Manava Dharmaśāstra contains conflicting injunctions. The important point to be remembered is that the ancient Smritikaras never tried to reconcile their own views with the views of their earlier Smritikaras. They did make mention of those views, and where they differed from them, they gave their own views quite in keeping with the spirit of their own times. Thus, it will seem that the Smritis themselves do not support the theory advanced by some that the Dharma is unchangeable for all times to come. They expressly state that Dharma and Achara may change from time to time according to the change in the social condition and practices of the country in their own times. And the fourth point is, however, this was not the attitude of the later Nibandhakaras and commentators. At times, they do not give even true and correct interpretation of the original works on which they are commenting, but in their exposition, they put their own additional matter, relying upon the passages in the other Smritis just to make a show that the views of the Smritis they are commenting upon are in consonance with the other ancient Smritis. And thus, they try to prove that there is a sort of samannaya between the various Smritis. It is also true that their interpretation is sometimes needed to make the necessary changes to these ancient texts to deal with this uninterrupted social changes. So unlike the biblical and Quranic legal system, which are well documented, coherent, and systematic in nature, the ancient Indian legal system was in the process of evolving over centuries, reflecting the need and necessity of a dynamic society. This, however, gave rise to the complexity of the ancient Indian legal system. In this short article, I will now try to justify my observation with two simple examples. Can you hear me, isn't it? Hello? Hello? Am I audible?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Hello?
Hello.
Okay.
You are
Yes, sir.
audible.
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, sir.
So the example. First example, in the context of the discussion of the means of acquiring of property in Manava Dharmaśāstra, it is recorded that Sapta Vitta Gama Dhatma Daya Labha Krayo Jaya Prayoga Karma Yogascha. It is written, it is erroneous written, typing mistake. Prayoga Karma Yogascha Sat Pratigraha Evaba. Professor Oliver, in his critical edition of Manava Dharmaśāstra, notes the literal meaning of this injunction like 7 means of acquiring wealth are in accordance with the law. First is inheritance, finding, purchase, conquest, investment, work, and acceptance of gift from good people. These 7 terms have been explained by all the commentators of Manu quite exhaustively. In this connection, I would be very carefully noted that Manu has enumerated these sources of property for all men, making absolutely no distinction whatever in reference to 4 castes. There are absolutely no words in this verse, all you can see that, to indicate that Manu has meant particular sources of wealth for Brahmin, some for Kshatriyas, and other from Vaishyas. But curiously enough, all the commentators of Manu have explained that the first 3, that is inheritance, finding, and purchase, are common to all men. Conquest is for Kshatriyas only, investment for Vaishya alone, and rightful gift exclusively for Brahmins. So while interpreting the injunction Medhatithi records, you can see the primary text, he interprets Tatra Adhyastraya Sarvasadharana, what I previously translated. Tatra Adhyastraya Sarvasadharana Traya Kshatriyasya Prayoga Karma Yoga Vaishyasya Sat Pratigraho Brahmanasya. Other commentators like Kulluka, Govindaraja, Sarvagya Narayana, Raghavananda, and Ramachandra explain this verse exactly in the same tone. You can find the book. Everything is printed. They say that the first 3 alone are lawful for all the 4 castes and so on. It is difficult to understand how these commentators derive this meaning from Manu's verse. The question remains like this: what are really the words of Manu's verse quoted above, from which these learned commentators like Medhatithi, Kulluka, Sarvagyanarayana have drawn this meaning? And the second question is, then what is the motive in the mind of these commentators which led them to express this verse of Manu in the way they have done? Some presumption can be offered from this motive. In the Dharmaśāstras of Gautama, it is recorded that Swami Riktha Sangvibhaga Parigrahadigameshu Brahmanasya adhikam labdham Kshatriyasya vijitam nirvishtam Vaishya Shudraya. It means ownership is established by inheritance, purchase, partition, possession, and discovery. Additionally, acceptance for Brahmins, conquest for Kshatriyas, and wages for Vaishyas and Shudras. It will thus be seen that Gautama makes inheritance, purchase, and partition only common to all castes. He reserves conquest for the Kshatriya, though Manu retains it for all. Earning or wages for the Vaishyas and Shudra only. Though this is included in the Prayoga and Karma Yoga of Manu, which is common to all, and gift or acceptance for the Brahmana only, though in the Manusmriti, this also is in the common list. The commentators have in their unwarranted zeal to show that the sources of property suggests by Gautama are the same as those recorded by Manu, and applied, curiously enough, Gautama's distinction to Manu's text. My investigation suggests this is not the faithful and true interpretation of Manu's injunction. We need to say boldly that in the time of Manu, the sources of property for all men of all caste were the same. There was no distinction with reference to caste. It was later added. And my second example is while discussing on inheritance, Yajnavalkya records that when a father divides his property among his sons, he may divide it as he pleases. He could also willingly bestow the best share to his eldest son or decide to divide it equally among them. The Sanskrit is very popular, all of we know, Vibhagam chat pita kuryat, ichchaya vibhajat sutan, jesthang va sreshta bhagena, sarve vasu samangshina. However, interpreters ponder over the exact intention of the direction of Yajnavalkya Dharmaśāstra. If both provision A, provide the best share to the eldest son, and the second provision provide equal share to all. So if the both provision are acceptable and one can apply it with his own satisfaction, then the first half of the same verse would be useless. Even Manu himself supports that the law of primogeniture that was prevalent at the time in that society, law of primogeniture, and advises that the eldest son alone ought to enjoy the entire paternal estate, and the other should live as his dependents just as they did when their father was alive. By the way, the problem is Yajnavalkya records the two provisions regarding partition of inheritance among one's son. According to the first provision, the law of primogeniture should prevail during the time of the division of property. This has also been endorsed by the direction of Manusmriti. However, according to the second provision, father must share the property equally among his sons. This provision is also approved by Manu himself. However, Manu advises that when brothers equally divide their parental property, sometimes extra should be given to the eldest as a token of respect. So the question that arises is, what would be the proper law regarding inheritance? Because according to the theory, when both the Smriti directions are equal in force or contradict each other, the principle of option, the either of them, that is called Vikalpa, should be applied. Gautama Dharma Sutra, we can find that, Tullavala Virodhe Vikalpa. If so, the provision of Atmatushti, Vikalpa means the provision of Atmatushti, the individual's conscience, consequently prevails. Though most of the post-Yajnavalkya Smriti writers mind it. I have already discussed that the sources of Dharma is Shruti, Smriti, and Sadachara. Because before Manu, no one refers about Atmatushti, and post-Yajnavalkya Smriti writers do not accept Atmatushti as the fourth source, except Vyasa. Even the Mimamsakas like Kumarila admit in the Tantravartika, page 128, you can find the edition of Benares edition, I mean Chaukhamba edition, you can find that, that although Atmatushti is not a reliable source, it is a disputed issue among the Mimamsakas. Even Mimamsakas do not like Atmatushti. So the Mimamsakas generally use the Vikalpa principle, or either case, only when all other means of reconciliations appear unavailable. Mimamsakas are the great reconcilers. They can reconcile anything. So when they cannot able to reconcile, then only they apply Atmatushti, otherwise not. Actually, they do not quote the word Atmatushti, they use the word Vikalpa. So in short, the problem arises regarding how could the conflicting directions of Yajnavalkya be reconciled. The solution is like that. Following the Mimamsakas, Vijñaneshwara, the author of Mitakshara commentary on Yajnavalkya Dharmaśāstra, reconciles the mentioned self-contradicting directions of Yajnavalkya with the help of Samanjasya principle, the principle of harmonious construction. He advises that if the father himself allots his self-acquired properties and not by inheritance based on law of primogeniture or the unequal allotment of property among his successor, then his unequal share could be justified. However, in the time of dividing the ancestral property, the father must follow the principle of equal distribution. Therefore, Vijñaneshwara restricts unequal distribution to one's self-acquired property while allowing an equal distribution for the ancestral property. Now, I like to say that, that the both equal and unequal distribution of property has been recorded in Yajnavalkya Smriti and also in Manusmriti. However, these conflicting directions need to be reconciled to have a consistent legal system to be operative. In addition, changes take place in the structure and nature of a society in which a proper distribution of property requires a clear and unambiguous law for the subject of the land. Ancient Indian history informs us that the law of primogeniture practiced for a long time was perhaps considered not adequately democratic due to the unequal inheritance of property. It is also possible that dynamism of a society opposed this practice for some time. This raises skepticism, gave way to the idea that ancient seers could be wrong, challenging the core of the theory of the theory of divine origin of those sacred laws, like the law of sharing property unequally. According to this theory, both of these laws have divine origins, consequently cannot be changed or altered, like creating a new set of rules by the legislature of the purpose of fitting a new group of people into an existing society. In this scenario, the Mimamsa system of interpretation encourages the legal experts of ancient India to reconcile different rules of maintaining a divine set of rules with being amenable to changing rules and practices of a dynamic society. Even the theory as mentioned by Vijñaneshwara helps ancient judges announces a verdict in favor of equal distribution of property. According to him, if dharma though recorded in the Smriti, is the cause of generating hatred among common people, then the former must not be performed, as it leads to the situation comparable to asarga, I mean hell. Referring to this provision, Vigyaneshwara has even gone so far as to recommend an equal division of property amongst one's heirs. Now the conclusion is, legal luminaries of ancient and medieval India often record the laws of the land in their treaties and commentaries while adjusting traditional laws with the dynamics of the changing society. According to the theory of the Dharmaśāstras, the ancient laws are considered divine and not statutory. As a result, the scriptural laws cannot be altered or amended except by interpretation. Therefore, the ready-made rules of Mimamsa played pivotal roles if we were forced to revise them. Rules of interpretations immediately or various direction. Rules of interpretation are, on many cases, are available to resolve contradiction in direction of same text immediately, or various directions of different texts written in different period in antiquity. It is able to do so by accommodations and adjustments of different part of a antiquity. Of a single text on various single text or various texts to make them consistent. Sometimes with the help of interpretation, the scope of applications of any law or direction becomes extended or restricted, like Manava Dharmaśāstras, that provision what I have already mentioned. Therefore, the clash between the text and its discourse becomes a regular phenomenon in the arena of Dharmaśāstra literature. Theoretically, the entire system appears as a constant body of information, although actually it undergoes changes like a living organ. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for your eloquent and informative lecture. We come to know a lot of things about the importance of textual interpretations, about how dharma changes from time to time, and about direct laws and customary laws, and changes in the legal arena enhances the progress of the society. Thank you, sir. It's the time to take up some questions. May I proceed, sir, with the question?
Yes, you can, but I cannot able. I do not know how can I see this question.
Oh no, I'm going to read out, sir, for you.
Oh, okay, then okay. Sorry.
Okay, sir.
I am just searching.
No, sir. Okay, sir. Thank you. A question from Arin Bishash. He's asking that, is there any possibility that temple will be free from government control and such goods property will be, and such God's property will be used to spread dharmic education?
I don't think there is any provision now, at least now. I think Akashdeep Nagal could elaborate us about this law, but now it cannot be possible. At least present law cannot provide the situation.
Okay.
Devatto Sampatti is something different. We cannot able to access like other.
Yes. Next questions are coming up from Joyanto Mondol. He is asking that, what is the role of Dharmaśāstras to remove lower caste discrimination?
Actually, This is the weak point of Dharmaśāstra, because the old law actually caste-oriented law. After the codification, the caste-oriented law, we know the Article 15. So the Dharmaśāstric, all the code, all the ancient code which are caste-oriented, now it was removed. So now the law is secular for all. But the Dharmaśāstric law, actually it was for the twice born people only. Because if you see the scripture injunction of Manu, the law was for Nishekadi Shashananta, Mantraidasyo Vidhi. It means from Nishek to Shashana. Those who enchant the mantra for their performances, for them only Dharmaśāstra, not for others. And if you can see the theory of expiation, I mean prayaschitta, you can find in the early text that there is no prayaschitta for the Shudras in the early text, not for the from Manu or later. Before Manu, if we see the Dharmasutra literature, we can find there is no prayaschitta for the Shudras, because the Dharmaśāstra is not for the Shudras. All the rules and regulation for the twice born only.
Next question. Just a minute. From Bappa Datta. Bappa Datta is asking that in Dharmaśāstra, there are any democratic values?
It is a big question. There is some provision about democratic values. If we see the provision of Narada, it is said that I cannot remember the exact line, but there is some provision. If many men try something or wish to do something, you need to approve like this. But this is for the for their judgment or something. In fact, if you see the democratic value, I see only this provision there, and I think we can find so many things if we try to find.
Okay, sir. Next question from Priyangbada Odhikari Nag. Manusmriti has explicitly promoted child marriage and dowry too. Can you say something about in this context?
This is a separate topic of discussion, but you must know that nowadays we do not tell Manu and others as a lawmaker. Mind it, lawmaker, we do not tell them. Now, we all say that they are law recorder. Actually, they are codifying what are going on the society. They are just codifying. I just gave the example regarding the law of primogeniture, because at the time of Manu, law of primogeniture was prevailed, but at the time of Yajnavalkya, it was not prevailed. So the system, the law will going to change. At the time of Manu, the child marriage was prevalent in the society. So he record. But when we started to build the law for the new India, we prohibit that. Hope you can understand my view.
Thank you, sir. Next question from Radha Kavinda G is asking that is there any law in Manusmriti for unmarried girls? Is there
So
any
many
law in
laws is there, but
Manusmriti
you
for
can
unmarried girls regarding share of paternal property?
Listen, just now, unmarried girl for no provision for them. because law of primogeniture was there. But you can find this kind of provision in Brihaspati Smriti. At the time of Manu, the society was more patriarchal. But at the time of Brihaspati, you can find some secular things also. So for unmarried girl, there are a lot of provisions in the whole arena of Dharmaśāstra, but not for the Manusmriti, because the time was not, society was not bothering about that. Unmarried girl will stay like other members or the other brothers of the family. You can say the all the share father's property will get the eldest son, and the rest of them will live under him like his father. So the situation of unmarried girl was like that at the time of Manusmriti, but the things become change afterwards.
Okay, sir. Thank you.
Hello? Hello?
Hello?
Bimal?
Hello?
Yes, I can hear.
I think his
I think
is disconnected. Now
Anima, unmute
Okay.
your mic. Unmute your mic.
Some questions,
Hello.
some questions from YouTube link. We should pick up some questions from YouTube link.
Yes, you can, but I think the next next speaker
Yes,
is
sir.
waiting. It will be better you can give my email to them.
Okay, sir.
Otherwise, the program will be delayed
Yes.
out
Thank
of
you,
schedule.
sir.
Thank you.
Okay, sir. Thank you. I would now like to welcome our honorable second speaker, Dr. Akash Deep Nagal, Assistant Professor, Campus Law Center, Faculty of Law, University of Delhi, for his speech.
Thank you,
Welcome.
Shrimati.
Welcome, sir.
Thank you. Thank you, Shrimati Tanima Banik, Dr. Ashok Kumar Das, Principal, Asan Nagar, Madan Mohan, Tarkalankar College, Shri Bimlendu Sinha Roy, President, GB, AMMT College, my dear friend, Shri Bimal Rakshit, who is the convener of this webinar, Dr. Anindya, and Shri Rakesh Mondal, all the faculty members of AMMT College, all the participants, a very good afternoon to all of you. Today, I'll discuss the basis of law and the theory of punishment, which is prevailing in the ancient India as well as in the modern India. What are the main similarities between them? What is the main difference? Where the difference lies, I will also explain that concept to you. I want to share my screen first. Is it visible now?
Yes, sir. It's visible.
Okay. So, as the participants here are from different streams like law, Sanskrit, I think many more streams are there also. The participants belongs to every stream. So, I want to just start my lecture with the basis of the ancient Indian traditions. So, coming to that only, in the ancient India, we have two traditions, basically two traditions. First is the Hindu tradition, and second is the Buddhist tradition. According to Bhikkhu Parikh, Buddhism is not entirely different from the Hinduism. the Buddhism can be called as the rebel child of the Hinduism. Why rebel child? Because they revolt against the Hinduism. As the Buddhism always challenges the Brahmanism, the Varna system, and the caste system. Further, the Hindu text is divided into two parts. First is the Shrutis, and second is the Smritis. In the Shrutis, you can say Vedas are there. In the Smritis, the Dharmaśāstras are there. Now, what are Shrutis? There is no author for the Shrutis. They are the revealed texts based upon the divine or the cosmic sound. कि ये तो भगवान की आवाज है, उसी के आधार के ऊपर Shrutis बनी हुई. Regarding the Smritis, they are the compiled text by the rishis based upon the Shrutis only. The Smritis tend to codify the principle of the human life for the practical application. These Smritis are written in the Lokik Sanskrit. Now coming to the Dharma, because the entire lecture is focused upon the Dharmaśāstras, and the word Dharma is very much important here. In India, from inception, we have the duty-based society. We focused more upon the duties than upon the rights. And our Dharmaśāstra provides for the Dharma for every section of the society, whether he is a king, or he is a businessman, or he is a warrior. Now, what do you mean by word Dharma? In the present context, if we say Dharma, we can take it as a religion. But religion does not mean Dharma in the ancient India. Dharma words comes from the Sanskrit word dhari, which means to hold. Dharma can be called as the basic jurisprudence of the human life, and it is based upon the concept of righteousness. As I already told you, Dharma prescribes the role of every person in the society. For example, if I am the king, then what is my role in the society as a king? If I am the sweeper, what is my role as a sweeper in the society? All this is told by the Dharma. The basic principle of Dharmaśāstra, which is known to everyone who is brought up in the traditional culture, is that the duties are more important than the rights, because Dharma focused upon the duties. Now, what is the relevance of these duties in the current scenario? I'll just give you a latest example of this. In the situation of COVID-19, have you heard of any person, except few who are suffering, if they are claiming for the rights? Every person is talking about the duties. What is the duties towards the society? For example, duty to wash your hands, duty to sanitize your hands, duty to wear the mask, duty to not to go outside without any sufficient cause. These all are the duties which we are discussing now in COVID-19, and these duties are in the form of Dharma in the ancient India. See how relevant this Dharma is in the current situation of the country. Even the Human Rights Commission these days talks about the Dharma only, the duties only. Now, I'm talking about rights and the duties. Now, what is the relation between these rights and duties? My law friends will easily get this point. In the law, in the legal jurisprudence, there is a Hofield chart which says that the rights and duties are correlative to each other. Now, what do you mean by this word correlation? If there is a right, there is a duty. For example, I am the student, I paid the fees of AMMT college and took admission in the Sanskrit department. Moment I have paid my fees, if I am following every rule, then in that case, it is my right to take the lectures, to take the classes. And how my right will be fulfilled? There will be corresponding duty upon the professors, assistant professor and associate professors to take the lectures. Means right in one person signifies the duties in another person. एक के अंदर right होगा तो किसी और की duty होगी, only then the right will be fulfilled. Our Dharmaśāstra provides for the strict code of conduct for every member of society. We have Vedas, we have Itihas like Ramayana and Mahabharata, We have kavyas like Abhigyan and Shakuntalams. We have Upanishads and many more ethics. All these talks about the duty of a person in the society. What duty you have towards the society. Now this Dharmaśāstra is mainly affected by the British colonial system. How? Because the Britishers bring a rapid social change in our country. For example, I'll give you 2 examples for this. There was no provision for the judicial divorce in the Dharmaśāstra in the ancient India. But now, if you will see, we have the specific provision and the highest number of cases are registered of the judicial divorce under section 13 of the Hindu Marriage Act. One other example, I was seeing the questions from there also. There was no provision for allowing the shares to the daughter in the ancestral property in the ancient India. But now you can see, after 2005 amendment in the Hindu Succession Act, section 6 is there, which says that now the son and daughter are equivalent and the daughter will take the equal share in the ancestral property of the family. So there is social change now which is being made. Now coming to other principal concept of Dharmaśāstra, basically I want to focus upon one point here is that is a Varna system. And before going to Varna, I just want to give a brief about the concept of Purusharth. Now what is this Purusharth? Purusharth means there are 4 goals of life. That is Dharma, Artha leads to wealth, Kama leads to the love and desire, and Moksha means free your soul for any kind of emotions. Then comes the ashrams. Ashrams says that there are 4 stages of life. First is Brahmacharya, then is Grastha, then is Vanaprastha, then is Sannyasa. Now coming to this third point, Varna. This is the most controversial part till date. According to this Varna, the Hindu society is divided into 4 basic categories. First category is Brahmins, then Kshatriyas, then Vaishyas, and then the Shudras. My friend and Dr. Anindya has thoroughly discussed this topic of Varna in his lecture, but I just want to focus upon one point. And that point is the Varna system, the Varna of a person is decided by the karma. वो क्या कर्म करता है उसी के आधार पे उसका वर्ण डिसाइड होगा. For example, if the son of a sweeper do the work of a Shudra, the son of a sweeper want to get educated and he took admission in a college. He did his MA and then MPhil, he cleared the NET and finally he got appointment as the assistant professor. Now he teaches Sanskrit to the students. He has so much of knowledge of the Sanskrit and the karam he is doing is of Brahman. But whether he will called as Brahman? No. The interpretation is entirely different from inception until date. We people are deciding the Varna of a person even when the person is in the child in womb. अपनी माँ के गर्भ में है तब भी हम ये डिसाइड कर देते हैं कि उसका वर्ण क्या होगा on the basis of the varna of the father. And this is the reason that Dr. B.R. Ambedkar, who is the architect of the Indian Constitution, he is a strong opposer of the Varna system. The Varna system is not wrong, but the interpretation which we people have made is wrong because it is based upon the karma. But here we decide upon the birth of a person. And the last one is sanskara. There are 16 essential rituals to be followed by the Hindus. That rituals starting from the Garbhadharan Sanskar to the Antyarthi Sanskar. Now coming to the concept of the state. Now I'm moving towards the legal point, which is my basic topic of the today. This origin of state. How the state originated? According to the Manusmriti, Manu says the state is the contract between man and the God. The state is the contract between man and the God. Now I will tell you the hierarchy of the events which leads to the formulation of state. You can see chapter 7 of the Manusmriti mentions the theory of state. Starting from the primitive society, आदि मानव के जमाने की बात करते हैं, there was no state. There was anarchy. Anarchy means there was lawless state. There was no authority. Everybody is following his own tradition. In this situation, Matsya Nyaya was prevalent. Now, what is this Matsya Nyaya? Matsya Nyaya means law of fish. The big fish will eat the small fish. The powerful will rule over the weaker people. So hence, people requested or prayed the Brahma to get them out of this situation. And finally, the Brahma created the king. And the king in the Manusmriti is called as Manu. And that is why the Manu is called as the first lawmaker and the first king. After the creation of king, it is the duty of every person to obey the law framed by the king, and this formed the concept of the state in the ancient India. Now, coming to the ideals of kingship, there is a difference between East and West in this situation. In the Western part, the kings are called as the divine personality because God has given some part of his personality to the king, because king is the creation of the God. As I told you, the Brahma created the king. Now, in the West, there is king is the divine personality, plus he has the absolute authority, means he can do whatever he wants. Nobody can challenge the king. But in India, see how beautiful this concept is. The king has the divine personality, but king does not have the absolute authority. Means even the king is bound by the law. What law? Means the king is bound by the Raj Dharma, which is given in the Dharmaśāstras, which is told by the Brahmans. He is bound by that law. And it is very popular connotation that if the king will not follow the Dharmaśāstras, he will not follow the Dharma, in that case, he will go to hell. This was the concept of kingship. What are the main responsibility of king here? First responsibility is Rakshan, that he has to protect his kingdom, people of his kingdom. And second thing is Palan. He is the Palanhar of the entire, every citizen of the his kingdom. Means the concept of welfare state is equally applicable in the cases of Dharmaśāstras in ancient India. तब भी welfare state था, आज तो welfare state है ही. Now coming to the basis of law in Dharmaśāstras as well as in the modern India, the law which is prevailing today. In India, I want to start with a Sanskrit slok, although I do not know much Sanskrit, but still I want to start with this. Yato dharmasya tato jaya. Where is dharma, victory lies there. So every person, where every person in the society follows the dharma, the victory lies to that society. Today, we all talks about rule of law. Now, what is rule of law here? Rule of law means the law is supreme and every person is bound by the law. Justice should be done according to the law. But justice should be done. And this principle was very much applicable in the ancient India. Later on, in the form of dharma, this principle was applicable in the form of dharma. Later on, this dharma is converted into rule by law. Rule by law. Now, what do you mean by rule by law? It means every person is bound by the law formulated by the judiciary or the legislature, even if that law is unreasonable, that law is not good. Every person is bound by that law. I just cited here the A.K. Gopalan case. In this case, the Supreme Court held that Article 21 of the Constitution provides for right to life and personal liberty. But in A.K. Gopalan case, they straight away said that if any law is there which permit us to take away right and life of a person by following some procedure, then the right to life and personal liberty can be taken away. This is the example of rule by law. Then the society moves on to the rule of law again, which is prevalent in the ancient India. Now, this rule of law says, we can set the example of Menka Gandhi case. In Menka Gandhi's case, it was said that the right to life and personal liberty can be taken away by any law made by the statutory, but the law should be just, fair, and reasonable. See, the ancient concept is now again working in the modern law. Means the law is there and everybody is abided by the law, but it should be just, fair, and reasonable. Means now we can challenge the law also. In the current scenario, we can see, you might read the judgment of the Supreme Court. Our court are very vibrant and they give judgment on different perspectives. Now, sometimes they apply the rule of law, sometimes they apply the rule by law. Rule of law basically means justice by applying the law, and rule by law means we have to apply the law, whether justice should be done or should not be done. I'll give you an example of both rule of law and rule by law. In the rule of law, we can take the example of Gita Hariharan case. The statutory law says that, Guardianship Act says that when the father is alive, he will be the natural guardian. The woman, the mother cannot be the natural guardian when the father is alive. But in the Gita Hariharan case, following the principle of equality, what the Supreme Court held, that father and mother both can be the natural guardian even if the father is alive. So here the justice is being done. If the father can be the guardian, why the mother cannot? So justice is done by applying the rule of law. In other case, that is the case of Om Prakash versus Radha Charan. This case is based upon the female estate. What happened in this case? I'll just tell you the fact in brief. There is a girl of 14 years of age and married to a man. Within 1.5 months of the marriage, the man died. The in-laws thrown that girl out of the matrimonial house. She went back to her paternal house. Now, the father, mother, and all the members of the family supported that girl, and she got a government job. She lived for 40 years and she earned huge amount of money and property. But every property is in her own name. Now, when she died, having the separate property in her hands, the heirs of the husband, the relatives of the husband, died husband, claims that property. Why they are claiming that property? Because section 15 of the Hindu Succession Act says that if the woman is having the separate property, means the property in her own name, without having any husband or children, in that case, that property of the woman will go to the heirs of husband. So, law apply karenge, entire property will go to the family of the husband, जिन्होंने उस लड़की को घर से बाहर निकाल दिया. Supreme Court here applied the rule by law. Means law applicable करना है, justice हो या ना हो. But Supreme Court said that this is a harsh case, but still we have to go by the law by applying rule by law, and entire property was given to the heirs of the husband, relatives of the husband. See how harsh sometimes the law is when we follow the rule by law. So we can say that the Dharmaśāstras, the concept of rule of law in Dharmaśāstras is equally relevant and applicable in the modern law as the rule of law, which is prevalent in both the eras. वहाँ पे भी rule of law था और यहाँ पे भी rule of law. The form can be different. The application can be different, but rule of the law was very much there in the form of dharma in the Dharmaśāstras. Now, I'll move on to the other part of my talk, that is the punishment. Now, punishment is known as dand in the ancient India, and the punishment theories are known as the Dandaniti. We can say the Manusmriti talks about Dandaniti and the importance in practical administration. According to Manu, administration cannot be run without the punishment. Without punishment, there will be a disharmony, there will be a disorder, there will be a chaos in the society. Manu believes that people should be afraid of law. उनको डराने के लिए लॉ होना चाहिए, ना कि उनको हेल्प करने के लिए. Now moving to the Arthashastra of Kautilya, Chanakya, it also discussed the concept of crime and punishment. In ancient India, there was rule of law, as I already told you, it was prevailing there, which means justice was to be given in accordance to the provision of the law. In Arthashastra, it was said that the social status and the material position of the criminal will not affect the course of justice. Even if a person is the prime minister, even if a person is the sweeper, the law will equally applicable. This concept was very much there in the Arthashastra. In Arthashastra, it was also laid down, a king should not inflict punishment indiscriminately. If he do so, then again he will go to the hell. If he will not follow the law, if he will not follow his dharma, he will go to the hell. Now, I want to tell you the similarities between the ancient and the modern law. What are the main concepts which were applicable in ancient India, and what are the main concepts which are applicable in the modern India? Similarities between them. The principle of equity, justice, and good conscience. This principle, equity, justice, and good conscience, is equally applicable in the ancient India. In the modern law, the law of tort is an example of equity, justice, and good conscience. Even in the current situation, whenever there is no law, there is situation of non-liquid, means no law has been laid down upon a particular point, the principle of equity, justice, and good conscience is applicable. और ancient India में तो ये applicable था ही. Second principle, the person should not be punished until he is proved guilty. It was very much there in the ancient India also. जब तक उससे guilty prove नहीं होगी, that too beyond reasonable doubts, the person should not be punished. The abettor, जो कि आपको crime करने के लिए उकसाता है, and the accomplice, सहभागी crime के अंदर, should be punished. ये अर्थशास्त्र में दिया हुआ था कि abettor and accomplice को भी punishment मिलना चाहिए, और आज के टाइम में तो इंडियन पेनल कोड के अंदर प्रॉपर प्रोविजन है, इंडियन एविडेंस एक्ट के अंदर भी है, to punish the abettor as well as the accused person. Then the consideration of crime. How to hold a person liable for the crime? क्या क्या चीज देखी जाएगी कि उसने क्राइम किया है कि नहीं किया है? The manner, the seriousness of the crime, and the antecedent of the criminal should be seen, and this was very much there in the Arthashastra. So we can say that the basis of law is almost the same, which was prevailing in the ancient India. Now that is equally applicable to the modern law. These are the similarities. If similarities are there, there might be some differences also. Now, where is the difference? Difference is regarding the punishment, कि कितना punishment देना है, and the mode of punishment, कि आपको punishment को execute कैसे करवाना है. As we all know, in the ancient India, the mode of giving the punishment and the punishment is very much cruel. For example, the punishment for the pickpocketer. Now it is a very much less offense. और उस टाइम पे किसने अगर पिक पॉकेटिंग किया, then his finger should be cut. अगर वो रिपीट करता है इस ऑफेंस को, in that case the arm should be cut. But nowadays 1 year punishment is there. Second example, the punishment for the murderer and theft in the king's treasury. This is very very much grave offense. Murder की punishment or theft in king's treasury. Punishment was the person will be burnt alive. He will be burnt alive. He will face a lot of pain. But nowadays, even for the murder, every case, the death penalty will not be given. Death penalty will will be given only in the case of rarest of rare case principle, as held in the case of Bachan Singh. So we can see the principle are almost same prevailing in the ancient and modern law, but the punishment and the mode of punishment are entirely different. Nowadays we focus more upon the human rights. जो cruel aspect है उसका हम उसको छोड़ रहे हैं. For example, death penalty की बात करते हैं. You can see number of debates are going on. We should abolish the death penalty. Why? Because we are focusing upon the human rights now. Now coming to the theories of punishment, there are other theories also, but mainly basically there are 4 theories. The first theory is the deterrent theory. Deterrent theory क्या बोलती है? It says that the punishment should be given to create a fear in the mind of the criminal, that if they will do the like crime, they will be punished accordingly. The supporter of this theory believes that creating the fear in the mind of the society, there will be less crime in the society. Now, what is the purpose of this deterrent theory? The purpose is to avoid the future crime. How this is done? By making an example of each criminal. कि इसको हम ये सजा देंगे तो पूरी सोसाइटी में मैसेज चला जाएगा कि हमें ये क्राइम नहीं करना. Then comes the retributive theory. Retributive theory is the most ancient justification of giving the punishment. Punishment क्यों दिया? Because retribution है. Now what is this retribution? It means eye for an eye. जो आपने किया वही आपके साथ होगा. According to this theory, offender or criminal should suffer the same pain as the victim. The supporter of this theory believes that punishment given should be equivalent to grievance caused by the person. This is second theory. Coming to third theory, that is preventive theory. This preventive theory of punishment seeks to prevent the prospective crime by disabling the criminal. The propounder of preventive theory states that the object of the punishment is to prevent offenses which can be done. Offense अभी हुआ नहीं है, लेकिन उसको ना होने के लिए, उसको होने से रोकने के लिए this theory is applicable. For example, you might have seen whenever there is a rally of a big politician or of an influential person in your district or villages or towns, there at that time the police take the history seekers or the hardcore criminals into the custody. What is the purpose? They may commit the crime. This is the main purpose. They want to prevent this criminal to commit the crime. So this is done only under the preventive theory. The last and most important theory, that is the reformative theory. According to this theory, the object of the punishment is not to give him pain, not to make him suffer. The object of the punishment is to reform him. So punishment, as per retributive theory, is the reformative process. How to reform? Reform the person and send him back to the society. This is the basic agenda behind the reformative theory. This process helps in making a criminal a good citizen as much as possible. Now, I would like to conclude my talk by giving you the application of this theory into the ancient India and in the modern India. And before going into that, I would like to quote the definition of law given by Sir John Austin, the famous jurist. The Austin says, law is a command of the sovereign backed by sanction. He emphasized, Sir John Austin emphasized more upon the sanctions, punishments. Means there is a deterrence effect of the punishment. In the ancient India, the purpose of punishment is to create a deterrence effect. डर का माहौल create करना और retribution करना. जो किया वही आपके साथ होगा. That is, there should be a fear in the mind of the society that they should not commit the crime. But nowadays, this deterrent theory and this retributive theory is almost negligible. It's not applicable. Whenever law were formulated, the laws were formulated on the basis of the reformative theory. Being a welfare state, we focused upon the reformative theory for the formulation of law. This reformative theory means the purpose of the punishment is to reform the accused person and to send him back to the society. Punishment is not to actually punish him, but to reform him. But today also, in the case of death penalty, the deterrent and retributive theory is applicable. What is death penalty? There is no chance of reformation. If the person will be died, if any mistake is done by the judiciary, there is no chance of reformation. In that case, deterrent and retributive theory is applicable because we want to create an example. कि इसने ऐसा किया, आगे से ऐसा ना हो, we should give him a death penalty. So, to conclude, in the ancient India, the deterrence and retributive theory was applicable for the formulation of law, but in today's scenario, in the current law, the reformative theory is applicable except one exception, that is the death penalty. So this is all from my side. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir, for your informative speech. And we come to know a lot of things today about the importance of duties, correlation of rights and duties, the concept of the origin of state, about the two concepts, rule of law and rule by law. And after all, that India being a welfare state, the entire modern law today is formulated on the basis of this reformative theory, except the death penalty. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. It's the time that we take up some of the questions that are coming up. Okay, sir. The first question is from Tathagata Mukherjee.
Okay.
Tathagata Mukherjee. He is asking that, what are the 6 Sanskaras? Would you explain this in a nutshell?
Actually, basically, I took this concept of Dharmaśāstras only to give you a brief about this, because not being a professor of Sanskrit, so I cannot explain the sanskara much in brief. I just have given you the example of that 2 things, starting from the inception, from the garbharan, from starting to the end of the person. So वहाँ से वहाँ तक वो applicable होगा, but I don't want to go into detail of these sanskaras because my topic was only related to legal field.
Yes, sir. It's very interesting.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. I find no question from this Google Meet link. Bimal Rocket? Mr. Bimal Rocket?
Yes. Yes.
Is there any question coming from YouTube? Is there any question from YouTube?
I think there is no question. Okay. I can explain the 6 samskaras here. The first, Nagar has said right things, that from Garbhadhana to the cremation, there are 16 parts of our life. It starts from Garbhadhana, then Pungsavan, then means Garbhadhana means conception, then there is Pungsavan means fetus protection, and after that there is Murnayan. It's called satisfying wishes of the pregnant mother. And then there is Jata Karma. It is birth rituals. Jata Karma, it's called Jata Karma. Birth rituals. And then Nama Karma, it calls name giving, naming the child. And then there is Niskavana, taking the child outdoors. It calls Niskavana. And after that, there is 7th is Annaprasana, giving the child solid food. Okay. It is called Annaprasana. It is well known for 2 parts. And after that, there is Chudakarma or Mundan, hair cutting. It is called 8th Samskara, Mundana, and there is Karnaveda. Karnaveda means ear, piercing, it's called. And 10th is Upayana. The rituals there. Upayana means there is Yoga Dharan कहते हैं इसको. or and 11th is Vedarambha, study of the Vedas and scriptures at Gurukula. He entered to the Gurukula, there he starts to chant Vedas and Smritis, Shastras. After that, there is Samavartana. After his completion his education in his Gurukula, they returns to their home. Before returning home, they perform some rituals in the Gurukula. It's called Samavartana. And after that, their 30th is Vivaha, marriage. And 40th is Vanaprastha. It is well known, the prepare for renunciation. And after that, Sannyasa. That's 15th. It is called Sannyasa. The giving up the all desires and all desires, giving up the desires. And 16th is cremation. It is called Antyeshti. Antyeshti means it is also yajna. It is the cremation. That's all the 16 sanskaras in Dharmaśāstras. Okay? That's all.
Okay, sir.
Thank you.
Sir,
Me also.
sir, please, there is a question.
Okay.
Sir, Dr. Akash
Yes,
Deep Nangal,
yes.
sir. Yes, sir. This question from Radha Govindo GV is asking that according to Dharmaśāstra, there are 18 disputes, whether they are relevant to the present society. And the same question he asked, that what about disputes in ancient India, which are still relevant?
See, dispute, like you can say the concepts which are applicable there. No? Like, for example, what you will call as a dispute. The dispute will be called as the things which are now being controversial there. Means the concept of patriarchy. It is still applicable in India. Although the women have got the right in the property by 2005 amendment, but still, women क्या करती हैं? मेरे भाई को लेके property छोड़ दूंगी. This is what they do. They are still applicable.
Yes,
we have to remove these things from our mind. Then only these things will go. Yes. So dispute, you can say that it is in the form of like controversial things, and they are still applicable. Many concepts I told you are applicable still in India. So I think this is the main answer to this question.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Thank you. Now,
Thank you.
I would like, yes. Now I would like to request Mr. Rakesh Mondol, Assistant Professor, Department of Law, University of Bardhaman, for his speech.
Thank you, madam. Am I audible?
Yes, sir. You're audible.
Okay. Good afternoon to every listener. And I would like to give my special thanks to the principal of the Ashan Nagar AMMT College and all the faculty members who has beautifully designed this program and organized this program. Especially, I would like to give thanks to my friend Bimal Rakit and also all of the listeners of this webinar. So, as the webinar is going too long, from the long session is going on, I think this is the conclusive speech. So I would not take much more time. So I would like to present my slides, and that is, I would like to show some present some slides. Okay. So okay. Is it visible?
No,
Is
sir,
it visible?
not yet. No, sir, not yet.
Not yet visible. Is it visible?
No, sir, I can see you only.
Okay.
Yes, yes, sir. It's visible.
Okay. Thank you. Okay.
Thank you.
My topic is the role of the Dharmaśāstra in evolution of Indian legal system. So Indian legal system, my friend Akashdeep has also discussed about this legal system and all this thing. So I feel that the legal system is still using some moral values, some ethical values, which are driven from the Dharmaśāstra, which are taken from the Dharmaśāstra. The role of the Dharmaśāstra in evolution of the Indian legal system. If we look at the original Dharmaśāstra, I can share the slide secondly. Okay, the origin of the Dharmaśāstra. If you see the origin of the Dharmaśāstra, it was designed. It was drafted in the latter Vedic period. In the earlier Vedic period, the around 1500 BC to the 1000 BC, the early Vedic period was started. In that early Vedic period, there was the only Shruti, that is to be heard, and there was no written script. So written scripture was not there. Therefore, at that time, the Gurukul system was developed, and whatever the Guru says, that are the final. So the Guru, whatever Guru says, the direction of the Gurus at the final. They have to the disciple has to listen those talk, and they have to remember this, and that is the Shruti. That is basically the main four Vedas. Okay, and in latter Vedic periods, it was designed. It was reduced to the writing, and that is to be remembered. So Smriti means that is to be remembered, and what are the written texture? So written text come in that period, that is around 1000 BC to the 600 BC, and we also should remember that at that time in 6000 BC, the Lord Buddha has already appeared, and he has started his religion. He has started his religious journey, and his journey was also started. Therefore, the Hindu Dharma, which was much more, it lost its acceptability. It was became rigid, because in appearance of the Buddhist religion, it became so scary. It thought that our position as a Brahmana may be lost. Therefore, as in the earlier discussion, we have seen the Hindu religion, or the Dharmaśāstra is not so good. Is not giving the equal right to the women, and it is sometimes it is controversial, and controversies regarding that it is not giving the enough empowerment to the women, because in the latter Vedic period it was arise. If the dispute regarding the women, or the women equal right, was taken away in the latter Vedic period. If I am not wrong, that then if we remember, in the early Vedic period, we have got some of the very brilliant women who discuss in the Sabha and Samiti. Sabha and Samiti was the earlier structure of the democratic parliament like structure, like we have the Lok Sabha or the Rajya Sabha. At that time also, there was some special arrangement, the special social arrangement, that is called Sabha and Samiti. And we find out the few names like the Ghosha, Apala, Moitri. Those are the name of the women who are the various very much intellectual, and they have joined in the intellectual discussion with the men also in the early Vedic period. But in the latter Vedic period, we don't have find out such women empowerment in that Vedic period. Okay, so that is the difference that was later on developed. As per my study is concerned, so I have find out this kind of development, the strict mannerism, the patriarchal rights, patriarchy was developed in the latter Vedic period. But in the early Vedic period, the situation was more favorable for the women. Now, come to the point, that is in the Smriti, that can be classified in the Dharma Sutra and Dharmaśāstras. There is a slight difference. Like maybe one is written in verse, another is written in prose format. So my friend belong to the Sanskrit, they can well explain that. What are the difference between that? That there is a slight difference, and altogether they sometimes call the Sriti. Okay, that like the Manusriti, Narada Sriti, uh, Jaggavalka Sriti. So those are the comes together as a Sriti. But Sutra was developed in the earlier period of the Sriti. So earlier Shrutikar sometimes called the Sutra, the Dharma Sutra, and later on the Dharmaśāstra was developed. So when Dharmaśāstra was developed, that time the society became more rigid. Or the Vedic values, the values of the women, giving them the equal rights, or all these things, that was gradually changed. Okay, now come to the next. Now I will concentrate my lecture on the Manusriti, because Manusriti is one of the most important Sriti, and which actually developed the Indian legal system. And Manusriti, along with the Kautilya's Arthashastra, they provide the structure, which structure is now till now is follows in the Indian constitutional structure and the administrative structure also. So I would like to draw the attention here that it was written around the 200 BC, but it was started in 200 BC and it was run for a prolonged time. There is no such particular time period, and it is seems that it was developed around 1,000 or more than 2,000 years. It was developed. Therefore, by seeing that development, we can say this particular texture, the Manusriti, this particular Sriti, was not written by the one single person. So it was written by, it can be said that it was written by the so many commentators. It was or maybe a Manu means not a particular single person. It maybe means the particular community. It may denotes a particular community who actually believes in a specific religious belief they belongs to. So in that case, the Manusriti was written in a prolonged time, and no one possesses the original text also. So there is also a controversy regarding the original text. It is ancient law given. It also called the Law of Manu, and it has the total 12 chapters, and various topics like the duty, rights, virtue, etc. are given in consideration in these chapters. And I personally would like to share that I don't know properly the Sanskrit. Whatever I have learned about the Manusriti, that is depending on the English commentary of that. So the interpretation in English maybe differ from the Sanskrit or the text, the original text. Okay. So now next is that the law, as we can generally classify, the law can be classified in the public law and the private law. In the public law, we can say that those laws which affect which are related to the every common man, which is the general in purpose, which is applicable to the every citizen generally, like the constitutional law, like the administrative law. And the private law means the law which is belongs to a particular community, which is applicable to a particular community. Therefore, like the Hindu law, Muhammadan law, or the Muslim law, Parsi law, those comes within the purview of the private law. The beauty about the Dharmaśāstra is that the interesting matter about the Dharmaśāstra is that it take the it helps develop the public law as well as the private law. The Indian legal system has taken some of its material from the Dharmaśāstra, and it was taken in the public law and also in the private law. I will discuss both particular juncture. I will discuss the both particular function of the Dharmaśāstra in the public law and the private law separately. Okay, now, now the duty of the king. The actually Manusmriti under chapter 7 has elaborately said the duty of the king. Here, as the Dr. Anindya Bandyopadhyay has mentioned that the law at that time was divine. But I have written here, as per my study, I have found out that the king is not the above the law, but the under the law. Therefore, as according to the Dharmaśāstras, law was divine, but not the king. King was not divine. King is not the superior to the law. King is the under the law. Therefore, it actually said about the rule of law. Therefore, this ensured the rule of law in the monarchy. As earlier, in just before the lecture of the Akashdeep sir, there was a question comes from a student that whether there was any there's any democratic value in the time of the Dharmaśāstras. Yes, there was some democratic value, because the king was not the absolute powerful person. King was not the absolute director. Therefore, king has to be ruled or governed by the dharma. Dharma here is not always duty. Dharma here is the also morality and the ethics. Therefore, rule of law is basic principle of the constitution law in the present day and the administrative law of the India. But this rule of law is not the Western rule of law. As we have seen, the legal scholar, we know that the rule of law was propagated by the A.V. Dicey in his lecture of the constitution law, and it was developed in England. But much before the England, much before anyone know the name of the British Empire, we have the rule of law in our Dharmaśāstras. Therefore, the particular origin of the rule of law in under Article 14 of the Indian Constitution, which it is not the originated from the British Empire, or it was not taken from the any Western country. It has the origin long before the British Empire in Indian texts like the Dharmaśāstras or the Dharma Sutra. The modern day Article 14 says that states shall not deny any person equality before the law or the equal protection of the law within the territory of India. So that is the modern day law that was not entirely developed, that is not entirely depending upon the Western law or Western theory, and it is depending upon the Dharmaśāstras also. It has taken the gist from the Dharmaśāstras as well. Another thing I would like to mention here, the divine theory of state. Divine theory of the state, which was developed in the Western country, that particular theory says that the king is divine. But in India, Dharmaśāstras says the king is not divine, but the law is divine. So the king must follow the law. On the other hand, in the Western theory of the Western theory, that is the divine theory of law, a divine theory of state, that speaks that the king is supreme and king is the another name of the god. So whatever king says, that will be the law and that will be final. But here the dharma is final. Here the ethics or the morality, which is actually denoted, which is actually the same interpretation of the dharma with the morality and the ethics, that is to be followed. And therefore there is the difference. There is the difference between the Indian theory of the divine theory of state, Indian theory of divine theory of state, and the Western theory of the divine theory of the state. Okay, now next, what are the duties of the king? So I have find out this particular verse from the Professor Patrick Olivelle, the Manusmriti. So in that particular interpretation, in the chapter 7, verse 32-31, it says that in his own kingdom he shall be just behavior, and on his enemies he shall inflict rigorous chastisement with love. Friend, he shall be straightforward and towards Brahmana, tolerance. So that means he has to be good behavior. He has to hold the moral character. Next, but the king who deviates from it, having no control over himself, his fame diminish inward, like a drop of the clarified butter on water. So therefore, if the king is not riches, king is not in a proper mannerism, his fame, his kingdom also will diminish. Therefore, the having a king is not a lavish living. The having a king is not that you will have the every power to live a life as you want. So king has the duty from the early morning to till he goes to the bed. It was prescribed in the Dharmaśāstras and basically in the Manusmriti that what are the duty of the king from the very morning to the night. Now, next, that though his mind be already disciplined, he shall always learn discipline from them. The person who has already discipline, from them the king has to learn the discipline. The king with a disciplined mind never perish. So therefore, in that verse, it was clearly said the king who is under the discipline, who is the control of his vices, then the king will prevail. And if he is not practice the discipline, he will not exist. Now, next, that many kings, along with their belongings, have perished though want of the discipline, while on the account of the discipline, many even though live in forest have obtained kingdom. Therefore, if a king is riches, if a king follow the moral character, if the king is the follow the virtue, then he may get the kingdom. Okay, so that was the direction of to the king by the Dharmaśāstras. Now, between the vices and the death. So vices here are the very important, play a very important role in Dharmaśāstras, because it speaks about the morality, and it says that vice is said to be the more harmful. The vicious man sink down and down. So it is also applicable to the king, because it was written under the chapter of the duty of king. But the dead man without vices ascend to the heaven. So even a dead man, if he, as we say, the reputation follow the man. So therefore, after the death also, if you don't have any vices and you are the richest person, then your particular your those good deed will give you to the heaven. So that is the position of the king. Therefore, we can say the rule of law was present in the context of the Dharmaśāstras also. At the time of the Dharmaśāstras, rule of law was also present. It was not that the king was the final authority. Now come to the very controversial and disputed portion, and that is the position of the women in the time of the Dharmaśāstras, and what are the position in the Manusmriti, especially. It was in the feminist jurisprudence, and also in the present day context, we have find out that there are very much controversy and the movement that we want the freedom from the Manubad. In the Marxist theory also, and the followers of the Marxist theory, they have critically examined the Manu as it is the source of the all kind of inequality, all kind of violence against the women. Recently, in Sabarimala case also, it was written in the various legal forum, in the various magazine also. Like I have find out in the Frontline, the India's leading magazine, it has mentioned that the Manusāstra or the Manubad, we want the freedom from the Manubad, because the Manubad is the main problem of the women emancipation. It speaks about the women. It demonizes the value of the woman in the society. But in my reading, I have find out that there are some of the words, some of the particular documents, some of the words which is not so inequally, which promote also the honor and respect of the women. So one of them is that the chapter 3, verse 56, that says, where the women are honored, there the God rejoices. Where on the other hand, they are not honored, there all the wreaths are fruitless. Therefore, it was not the position of the women was extremely bad at that time. Now, next, where the female relation lives in grief, the family soon wholly perish. But that family where they are not unhappy, even prosper, ever prosper. Sorry. So that means the rejoice that the family has to be taken care. Family must taken care of their woman member. Next, hence the men who seeks their own welfare should always honor women on all holidays and festivals with gifts of ornaments, cloths, and dainty foods. That is the verse 3 and 59. So it says that the man has also, if he wants his own personal peace and also his enjoy his life, that he must give the attention to his wife, to his to the women that he loves. So that today also we see that the scenario is same. So in the festival they have to enjoy with the women, his wife. Okay, so these things are also written in the Dharmaśāstras. And second, next is that in that family where the husband is pleased with his wife and the wife with her husband, happiness will assuredly be lasting. That is also in the chapter 3, verse 6. So that means it is not always that the position of the woman was very wrong and inequality was there. Sometimes, as the Professor Anindya Bandyopadhyay has also mentioned, sometimes the interpretation of the Manusmriti or any other Dharmaśāstra, they are not adequate, because at that time there was no chance to change the law, as the law was divine. Only the interpretation can change the law. Therefore, we can interpret it in such a other manner. But yes, there are some element. I am not denying the fact that there is no such fact which promote the inequality to the women. There are some factors which promotes the inequality in the women, but there are also some part which promotes the equality. Next, the maintenance of the women. Now I am going to discuss a particular verse which is much more controversial in the reading of the law also, and in the various discussion. Basically the Communist Party and the other political parties, they have mentioned this verse as it is the very much defamatory to the women, protection in India. That is, the father guards her during the virginity, the husband guards her in youth, and the son guards her in the old age. The woman is never fit for the independence. Verse, that is the chapter 9, verse 3. In some of the other interpretation, in Olivelle has mentioned it in the father protects. Instead of using the word guard, he has mentioned the protect. So father protects her during the virginity, husband protects her in the youth, and the son protects her in the old age. The woman is never fit for the independence. Here, my interpretation is quite different. I think that was stated at the time, depending on the value system at that time, depending on the economical and social condition of the women of that time. The Manu has mentioned the maintenance of the wife is one of the duty. If I say the women are not fit for the independence, that means they are dependents. That means they are the dependents. You have to take them as dependents. So that means the woman has the right to get the maintenance in every stage of their life. And if you look at the present day scenario also, I have mentioned few of the section. That is the section 24 and 25, and that that give the maintenance to the wife under the Hindu Marriage Act 1955. That is the maintenance pendulite. Maintenance pendulite means at the time of the litigation, at the time of the litigation, the women will have if there is any controversy running and the dispute running regarding the marriage, the women will have the right to get the maintenance from the husband. Next is that the section 25 says that when the permanent settlement of the dispute is arrived and the marriage is dissolved, then the woman has the right to get the permanent maintenance, permanent alimony. Therefore, the maintenance is one of the basic criteria that was also present in the time of the Dharmaśāstras also. One of the listener has asked the question whether there was any right of the women over their paternal property. There is no such right written as per my study is concerned, as far as I know the Dharmaśāstra, that there is no such right given to the women regarding the property of the parental property or the father property. But the father has a duty that to maintain the unmarried women, or even sometimes the married woman if she is unable to maintain herself. So now come to the Hindu Adoption and the Maintenance Act 1956. That has also categorically stated that maintenance to the wife, maintenance to the children, that is under the section 18, maintenance to the wife, maintenance to the children in section 20, and unmarried daughter and the aged parents. Therefore, the maintenance is one of the part of the parcel that the unmarried daughter, they are the and the aged parent. So the women also, as the aged parent, can get the maintenance at that stage, that particular act applicable to the women also. Therefore, the father and the husband and the son, even the daughter, in the present day, even the daughter, are liable. They have a duty to give the maintenance to their wife or the mother or the unmarried daughter. They have to give the maintenance. So that is the maintenance which is embodied at the time of the Dharmaśāstra. It is I may anyone differ with my interpretation, but it is my interpretation of that particular verse. Now come to the another point, that is the maintenance under the criminal law. The maintenance is also given in the criminal law under section 125 of the Criminal Procedure Code 1973. That says that a man should maintain his legitimate or illegitimate minor child, whether married or not, unable to maintain herself. Now next is that his legitimate or illegitimate child, and the not being a married daughter, because as I mentioned, that married daughter are given protection by the husband. So who has obtained majority, where such child is by reason of any physical, mental abnormality or injury unable to maintain itself. Now last is that his father or mother unable to maintain himself or herself, a magistrate of the first class may, upon proof of the such neglect or the refusal, order such person to make a monthly allowance for the maintenance of his wife or such child, father or mother at such monthly. So that means the portion of the maintenance is applicable in the modern law, and even it was applicable to the time of the Dharmaśāstra, it was present. Now next, my findings regarding the Dharmaśāstra is very I have studied on this particular portion or those portions which are relating to that. So my findings are very clear, that is the Dharmaśāstra should be taken as a source of law, but not as a law itself. Why? Because it should not be taken as a law itself, because the one of the important and the classic characteristics of the law is that it must have the abrogative power. The law is to be enforced and is to be abrogated, is to be withdrawn. It has to be withdrawn. It has to be changed in the time to time, because law must not be static. But if you look at the Dharmaśāstras or to the other like ancient texts like the Dharmaśāstra, Dharmasutra, whatever, they are the static. They are not changed properly. Therefore, the problem arises. Otherwise, they are the good for the moral and ethical behavioral purpose. They fix the behavioral structure. Therefore, and at the very difficulty about the Dharmaśāstra is that it promotes the caste system. The caste system or the burner system that was enforced at that time, and that was the society running by the Brahmanical the rule, and therefore, as the Professor Anindya Bandyopadhyay has also mentioned, that at that time only the two varna, the Brahman and Kshatriya, they were given the much empowerment, not the Sudra or Vaishya. So that is the one of the most important and the controversial part of the Dharmaśāstra. Therefore, in 1927, the B.R. Ambedkar has burned the Dharmaśāstra publicly, and it was protested. His main argument was that Dharmaśāstra, basically Manusmriti, is the origin of this kind of difference in the caste system. This is the main originator of the caste system. That was the argued by the B.R. Ambedkar, and that was opposed by the M.K. Gandhi. Mahatma Gandhi has said no, the Dharmaśāstra itself is not wrong. We must take those verses as I mentioned in the latter part. So I would like to conclude like this particular point. That is the part which teaches the morality and the non-violence that should be nourished, and the part which promotes the caste inequality or the woman inequality that should be rejected. It was stated by the M.K. Gandhi after he opposed the Ambedkar of burning of the Manusmriti in publicly. Therefore, we must take the Dharmaśāstra. We must read the Dharmaśāstra as the moral and ethical value, because if we look the law according to the natural theory of the law, what is law? If we ask the question to the natural theorist of the law, what is law? Then they will say the law is the ethics, morality, and virtues in a codified manner. We have codified in the modern day. We have codified some of the morality, some of the ethics and logical part that was taken in the context of the modern law. So modern law must go with the logic. So morality and ethics are one of the raw material of making the law. They are one of the raw material of the law. But we must remember that if we follow the philosophy, in the discourse of the philosophy, the morality was discussed, and it was discussed that the morality is irrelevant. What is the morality today? What is the moral today may not be moral tomorrow. Therefore, that will create the problem. Therefore, we have to be relevant. We have to be contemporary while we fixing some law. And at that time, we must take the consideration that whether the ancient text, whatever we have taken, that is follow the logic or not. Suppose the Sati Daha Pratha, that is not logical. That is the violative to the women right. So those part which are the violative to the women right or the human right, that we must drop, we must reject. Otherwise, there is no problem to ensure the Dharmaśāstra. Present day, some of the leading political parties, they are arguing that we'll follow the Manusmriti, as the law, and we will take it as it is. But if we take it as it is, there is a problem. If we take the morality and non-violence and the logic behind that, then it is okay. But the sum of the part, sometimes we can call the maximum parts, sometimes they are obsolete because it was not abrogated It was not repealed. It was not amendment. As I have mentioned in earlier lecture, the earlier lecture, the speaker has mentioned that the law must be amended. But Manusmriti or the Dharmaśāstras, they're unable to this change. They're unable to cope up with the present day situation. Therefore, I'll give thanks to everyone for listening patiently my lecture. Okay, so I will hand over to the coordinator.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir, for your speech on the role of Dharmaśāstras, evolution of Indian legal system. We have some questions, sir, from Bappa Datta. He is asking that according to Indian Constitution, national values and democratic values are the same.
National value and democratic value.
Yes, sir.
It may differ. It may differ. National value that actually depend upon what is written in our directive principle. So when the Constitution was written, the directive principle was given by the framer of the Constitution, and it was stated that our national value or the government has to follow the directive principle. They will direct the government. They will direct the government how to run the government, and they have to impose those principles in enforcement. If they fail to enforce those principles, then they will be liable to answer this thing in the next election. Therefore, national value may differ. If national value differ with the constitutional value, then they will suffer in the next election before the citizen. And as we know, the citizens are going to give the vote. They know how to measure that our government has done well or not. Whenever you are going to give your casting your vote, you have to see whether your government has enforced the directive principle written in the Constitution in totality, or they have moved towards the changing, towards the enforcing those principles. Those principles are the guiding force. I think I have given.
Next question. Yes, sir. Thank you, sir. Next question is from Ruchira Roy. She is asking that in Dharmaśāstras, women empowerment was promoted.
No, actually, women empowerment, they're actually mixed. In my reading, in my study, I have found out that there is a mixed context or the mixed area. That some of the portions, some of the words, they promote the woman entitlement. But when it comes to the property right, when it comes to the equal right of the parental property, then this particular document is silent about that. Therefore, women empowerment was not actually prohibited. There may be some problem regarding the interpretation because in the Vedic period, in the early Vedic period, position of the women was very high. This may be the problem of the interpretation.
Okay, sir. I think there is no more questions, sir. Thank you, sir.
Welcome.
Thank you. I would now like to welcome Dr. Bishwajit Poddar, IQAC convener, for his vote of thanks. Dr. Poddar.
Namaskar.
Welcome, sir.
Good evening to all of you. Myself, Dr. Bishwajit Poddar, coordinator IQAC of Ashannagar Madan Mohan Tarkalankar College. We are now going through a terrible instability around the world. More than 1 crore people are affected and 5 lakhs people are died for the pandemic disease COVID-19. Our country is now also in a very critical situation. Most educational institutions around the world are now closed. We have to continue the education system active by conducting online teaching learning process and organizing webinar. Even though it is not a proper teaching learning system, but it has to be done because we have no other alternative. Today is our third attempt webinar. It is a one-day national level webinar on the topic relevance of Dharmaśāstras to modern legal system, organized by the Department of Sanskrit of Ashannagar AMMT College. At first, I would like to congratulate Sri Bimalendu Sinha Rai, the Honorable GB President of our college, the patron of this webinar, and the member of Karimpur constituency. He is the actual inspiration behind this webinar. He could not attend to us because of his busy schedule. We thank him on behalf of the college. I would like to thank our Honorable Principal and the Chairman of this webinar, Dr. Ashok Kumar Das. Next, I congratulate to Mr. Bimal Rakshit, convener of this webinar, and all the professors of his department. We are especially grateful to those who have helped us with various technical works. Thank you to all the participants who participated in today's discussion. A special thanks to our chief guest, Dr. Rakesh Das, Assistant Professor, Department of Sanskrit and Philosophy, RKM Vivekananda Educational and Research Institute, Belur Math. As the chief guest of this webinar, he delivered his valuable speech and provided us a brief overview of today's topic. Congratulations to our speaker, Dr. Anindya Bandhu.
Hello. Hello. Vishwajit. Hello. Vishwajit.
I think
Dr.
it's disconnected yet.
Oh no.
Shall we wait?
Yes, yes. Wait. He must come. He must come.
Yes, sir.
You can call him. You can call him over phone. Hello. Vishwajit. Dr. Poddar. Vishwajit.
ডিসকানেক্ট হয়ে গেছিলাম স্যার
Hello.
সরি
ওকে জানি তুমি আসবে
Sir,
আমি জানি তুমি জানি
Okay,
তুমি
sir,
আসবে
welcome.
হ্যাঁ স্পেশাল থ্যাঙ্কস টু আওয়ার চিফ গেস্ট ডক্টর রাকেশ দাস অ্যাসিস্ট্যান্ট প্রফেসর ডিপার্টমেন্ট অফ সংস্কৃত and philosophy, RKM Vivekananda Educational and Research Institute, Belur Math. As the chief guest of this webinar, he delivered his valuable speech and provided us a brief overview of today's topic. Congratulations to our speaker, Dr. Anindya Bandhu, Assistant Professor, HOD, Department of Sanskrit, University of Kolkata. He has enriched us to deliver his lecture on the topic Law and its Interpretations, a clash between text and discourse. I would like to congratulate our another honorable speaker, Mr. Akashdeep Nagal, Assistant Professor, Campus Law Center, Faculty of Law, University of Delhi. He has enriched us to deliver his lecture on the topic Theory of Punishment and Formulation of Law. Many thanks to our resource person, Mr. Rakesh Mondal, Assistant Professor, Department of Law, University of Bardon. He has enriched us with his valuable discussion on the topic Role of Dharmaśāstras in Evolution of Indian Legal System. All the speakers have given us time even in their busy schedule. We are very grateful to them. Lastly, I would like to thank our program coordinator, Professor Tanima Bonik, AECOD, Department of Pol Science of Ashannagar Madan Mohan Tarkalankar College, for smoothly conducting this program. I ended my speech by thanking everyone once again. Now I am handing over the microphone to Professor Tanima Bonik. Thank you, Lord. Namaskar.
Thank you, sir, for your vote of thanks. I would now like to request the convener of the webinar, Sri Bimal Rokit, to request our honorable principal, sir, to call an end to this program. Sri Bimal Rokit.
Now to the on Rajavivayam Dharmaśāstranam Prasangikata. Please. And I have a request to announce about the announcement of the feedback form also. Sir, please.
Oh, okay. Thanks the members of the Department of Sanskrit and others. Though we are detached from our student and regular system of education, till we are trying to develop ourselves through this type of webinar. It will be happy if we can arrange another webinar shortly in different view. Dharmaśāstras is playing an important role in our society from ancient time, but it has been changed from time to time due to the demand of and necessity of our society. From the lecture of research person, it proves that law is originating from Dharmaśāstras. But I have a question: why is it called Dharmaśāstras? It should be the Shastra except Dharma. Actually, we can take everything from Dharmaśāstras. Cannot take everything from Dharmaśāstras because Dharmaśāstras is not being amended till date. So our program is very fine. I thanks to the technology which helps. At last, I thanks to our technology and electricity which are helping us to conduct this type of program. And now I declare that the ends of the program. Thank you very much.
Sir,
I declare that the feedback form will be given to their Gmail. Their email will be given to their email just half an hour, after half an hour, and it will be active up to 2 hours. It will be active up to 2 hours, and you write down your valuable feedback in this form, please. And I will give the form just after half an hour, and it will be active only 2 hours. It will be active only 2 hours. When you fill your form, and you will get a certificate from online. Thanking you.
So yes, this session is concluded with a Shanti mantra. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purna Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om. Thank you.
বিমল সবাইকে লিভ করতে বলো না, 6:15 পর্যন্ত টাইম আছে। আমি কিন্তু বন্ধ করব না, 6:15 পর্যন্ত টাইম আছে। হ্যালো
Dear participants,
লিভ করতে বলুন। ঠিক আছে।
Dear participants, thank you for your cooperation. You may leave this group now.